Are you ready to create a fully dynamic weather widget that updates automatically with the current weather for any city? Today I'm going to show you step by step how to make it, from designing in Lottie Creator to making it dynamic with live weather data on the web. Here's the weather widget I've already created in Lottie Creator. Right now it shows the city name, the current temperature, the high and low temperatures, the atmosphere, and an icon animation representing the weather, along with a background gradient. What I want is for this information to update automatically whenever a new city is selected. For example, if I choose New York, the city name here should change to New York, the temperatures should update, the right weather icon should show, and even the background gradient should adjust. To make this happen, we need to use motion tokens in Lottie Creator. Let's start with the text tokens. First, select the text layer for the city name and click on the Apply Token button in the text menu. Then, in the Motion Tokens pop-up, click on the Create Token button. Give it a name. In this case, I'm going to call it Place and hit Save. Let's follow the same process to create tokens for the temperature and the atmosphere layers. Naming them Main Temperature, Low Temperature, High Temperature, and Atmosphere, respectively. Now all these text fields are linked to tokens, which we'll control in code. Next, we'll set up the token for the gradient background. Select the background layer, click the Apply Token button in the gradient menu, create a new token and call it BG Gradient. Now we'll open the Motion Tokens Manager and create themes. This way, the gradient backgrounds can randomize and rotate as we switch between the different cities. Later, we'll switch between these gradients based on the current weather. Now let's handle the icon animations. Here are all the animations that we have. Each weather icon needs an opacity token, so we can show or hide them dynamically. Let's start with the cloudy icon animation. Select the cloudy layer and set its opacity to 0. Then create a new opacity token for this and name it Icon Cloudy. Repeat this for all the other icons, giving them these names: Icon Storm, Icon Sun, Icon Night, Icon Windy, Icon Snow, Icon Snowstorm, and Icon Rain. This way, we can hide all the icons at first and only show the correct one depending on the weather. With all tokens in place, it's time to export the animation. Click the Export button and save the animation to the LottieFiles workspace. On the LottieFiles platform, click on the Handoff button and toggle the Asset CDN link on. In the Format section, make sure that the .lottie or the optimized .lottie format is selected and copy the asset link. This is the link we'll be using in the code to load the widget. Now it's time to make this widget dynamic. To demo this, let's open it up in CodePen. We can test how the animation behaves here first and then later hand it off for final implementation. Begin by adding a canvas element to hold the animation. Give it the ID of .lottie canvas. We'll pass the CDN link directly into the .lottie constructor in JavaScript. Then add some basic CSS so the canvas is centered and sized correctly. I like to set the width and height to 320 pixels and center it using CSS Grid. Next, we'll initialize the animation. Import the .lottie web SDK as a module, then select the canvas in JavaScript using document.getElementById. Create a new .lottie instance, passing the canvas and the CDN link as the source. Set autoplay to true and loop to true. This ensures the widget plays immediately and scales correctly. After that, we can define a few variables from our animation, such as token names, icons, and gradient options, as well as a few small helper functions that convert the Weather API's numeric codes into readable text and icons for later. Now we need a list of cities for our widget. I've included Taipei, Tokyo, Seoul, Singapore, London, Paris, New York, and Sydney, each with their latitude and longitude. To let users select the city, we'll create a drop-down menu. Use document.getElement with select, style it so it's positioned nicely on the page, then loop through the city names and create option elements for each. Append all options to the select element and add it to the page body. We'll also add a small refresh button and a status display so users can manually refresh the weather and see the current city, temperature, and condition. Everything is grouped in a small UI container fixed to the bottom left of the page with some semi-transparent styling and blur effect to keep it readable over the animation. Once the dropdown and button are ready, we fetch the weather data from the OpenMeteor API. In a function called fetchWeather, we get the coordinates for the selected city, call the API, and extract the current temperature, whether it's day or night, the weather code, and the high and low temperatures for the day. Next, we'll update the animation with all the data. In Update City, we first update all the text tokens: place, main temperature, low temperature, high temperature, and atmosphere. Then we hide all icons by setting their scalar opacity to 0, and show only the correct icon by setting its opacity value to 100. For the background, we randomly pick one of the embedded gradient themes from the .lottie file. If the player supports set theme, we use it. Otherwise, we fall back to manually setting the BG gradient slot using predefined gradient arrays. Lastly, we make sure the widget loads the default city. We add an event listener to the animation load event and call Update City Taipei to start. We also add event listeners to the dropdown and the refresh button so that when a user selects a new city or clicks refresh, it fetches the latest data and updates the widget. The widget also auto-refreshes every 10 minutes in the background. And that's it! Now when you select any city from the dropdown, the city name updates, the temperatures update, the weather condition updates, the correct icon animation appears, and the background gradient changes. All the text, gradient, and icon updates are controlled by the tokens we set up in Lottie Creator, and the JavaScript handles fetching the data and updating the animation in real time.